Now, let me tell you something else.
What's that?
Do you know the other great Canadian rock group?
I know a few.
No, give me one. Right, I can't even think of it.
Rush, the Tragically Hip?
No, the one that was just kind of...
Nickelback.
No, keep going.
Guess who?
Nope.
Stan Peters?
They were famous kind of for a minute.
Loverboy?
No,
When were they famous?
a couple of years ago. You know it if I said it in a minute. But
What
he
do they
was
sound
my
like?
driver when I did Super Dave.
Really?
Yes, and he was a great kid, but a whore. He would come late. He picked me up from the airport, and we're driving back to my hotel, and I've got meetings and casting. He turned left, and we were in a parade.
It
We
was
rode for 3
was it Tyler
hours.
Stewart? Bare Naked No, I don't know if Tyler was.
Tyler.
It was Tyler? But he must have been really young.
Yeah, Tyler. What's the name?
Bare Naked Ladies. Yeah.
That son of a bitch.
We're going live.
He left me at the airport for 2 hours. I said, "Where are you?" Well, the traffic was, and I left late.
Okay.
And you know that Puerto Rican parade, whatever it is? What is that?
Puerto Rican parade.
Well, they have a parade every year. I was in the middle of it.
Okay, we're
like a
going 10
float.
seconds. Here we go. Hi there, happy Friday. Welcome back to Q. I'm Gian Gomeshi. Sandra Lurke is here. Super Dave Osborne has walked into the room. He's sat ready. Apparently, he's been bored for the last half an hour.
That's not true at all.
Well, you said you hated that interview.
I did not hate that interview. I loved it. I said it was a little slow, but I loved it.
Kenneth White is one of our great, he's a
is-
publisher,
I
editor-in-chief
read
of
his book. It's
Maclean's.
brilliant. But he seems to pause on every word. But I enjoyed it.
Okay, let's see
Don't
that.
think I
Now
love
we're
it.
on
And
the air.
why
I
is-
see how.
Why does he have a name Sandra?
It's a Norwegian name.
I don't care what it is. It's a woman's name.
I get that a lot.
Oh, do you? That's
Yeah.
surprising. If my name was Barbara, I'd get that a lot too.
But it's Sondre.
I don't care what it is. It's Can Sandy come out and play?
I get that a lot. I'm used to this. Sticks
All right,
and
forget
stones,
it. I'm
etc.
sorry. It wasn't a good question.
The great Sandra Lurke is
Great.
here.
Oh, see the lights on. He's a man. He's a full man.
Yes.
When did you have the operation, sweetheart?
All right, Super Dave Osborne. I haven't even given you your formal introduction yet.
Go ahead.
Wait,
I'll wait here. What happened to your finger?
if you were anywhere near a television in the 1980s, then our next guest
80s and 90s.
likely holds a 70s, 80s, and
No,
90s.
70s was not in Canada.
Yes, it was.
No, it wasn't. 80s and 90s.
Bizarre wasn't the 70s?
No, it was the 80s.
Okay. If you were anywhere near a television in the 1980s and 1990s and the new millennium, our next guest likely holds a special place in your heart. Super Dave Osborne is a stunt man with a difference. The difference being that his stunts, well, they never quite work. Yes, the jumpsuit wearing Super Dave is the everyman's Evel Knievel, an inept but brave comic hero whose every misstep, misfortune,
Maybe you should have read this once
inevitable
before
cry
you did it now.
of new pain
Maybe you
elicits
could
laughter.
have gotten through it better if you had glanced over it.
He's a cultural force who's been referenced in songs by Tupac Shakur and Ice Cube. Super Dave is a still happening force, and he has another life, an alter ego, if you like, Bob Einstein. Bob Einstein has a long and impressive career in show business. He plays Marty Funkhauser, Larry David's best friend on TV's Curb Your Enthusiasm. On Arrested Development, he was George Sr.'s surrogate, Larry Middleman, the guy with the camera in his hat. And you may have seen him as an FBI agent in Ocean's 13. Behind the camera, Bob Einstein has been an Emmy Award-winning writer with the Smothers Brothers, Sonny and Cher, Red Fox. And it was on Red Fox, on that show, that the world was introduced to the character Super Dave. Now Super Dave is back in Canada in support of a new DVD called Super Dave's Super Stunt Spectacular Volume 1. That's quite a title. And he is here with me in Studio Q. Hello.
Thank you very much. That was very nice.
You see, I turned it around, didn't I?
You really did.
Yeah.
The whole mood changed.
Well, now you feel like there was a bit of deference. That's all it took, huh?
Sandra just lifted up her dress. I saw that over there. Just crossing her legs.
Super Dave, we heard
What?
a promo with...
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know you were getting it out.
with Kreskin about
yeah, he's fabulous.
Well, now the thing about Kreskin
Kreskin's not a fake. Don't worry about a fake.
we always thought Kreskin was Canadian because he had a show that got shown up here. Now, Super Dave Osborne, growing up
Everyone
in Canada,
thought I was Canadian because I spent 12 years here, and I would have been proud to be a Canadian, but my partner was Canadian, and that's why I did the show in Canada.
I was disappointed. I think it was a little like finding out that there's no Santa Claus.
I truly love Canada. I love Toronto, I have to tell you. I mean, it's to me, it was always like a safe New York. It had everything, theater, great restaurants, the nicest people. I once remember.
You don't like it enough to have stayed, however.
Well, I don't live here.
That's what I'm saying.
Why would I stay?
Well, because you like it so much.
Well, I come back.
You could live here.
I don't want to live here. I live in
just
California.
said you love it.
I love it, but in the winter, I don't know if you notice this, it gets a little damp and cold. Okay? Like tomorrow is going to be pretty cold.
How do you feel about the fact that people think you're an honorary Canadian?
I love it. I love it.
And you now the first place we saw you,
Yeah.
Super Dave, he emerged on the Red Fox show because the first place we saw you.
I was
would be
producing the Red Fox show, and I decided to do just a piece to get out of the studio, and I got into a race car, and the car was lifted by a crane and put into a car crusher, and then Mike Walden interviewed me while I was in the car, crushed. That was my first stunt.
And there was just so much, people enjoyed it so much that it turned into a
Well,
regular.
we really started using Super Dave as a regular on Bazaar because we had to get out of the studio. Bazaar was a sketch show studio, so we decided every 3 shows to do Super Dave, and it caught on.
And you were also the producer of Bazaar?
Producer and
Because you would
writer.
come on and
I would come on, and I'll tell you something weird. I once said to the audience, if you want to come here tomorrow, Super Dave will be in the studio. And they cheered. And the only difference is I didn't have a helmet on. My voice is the same. Everything's the same. I never understood that.
people. Well, it's like it's like a Superman. He takes off the glasses, and all of a
Yeah,
sudden.
but I never consider myself that. When I get in the costume, I go, boy, am I different.
You come from this incredible comedy dynasty.
Yeah.
Your dad did radio, and
My dad was brilliant. His name was Park Your Carcass, and he was a Greek entrepreneur. He ran a Greek restaurant on radio. And he worked with Al Jolson and Eddie Cantor. I don't know if people know these names, but they're famous names. And he had a very, very strange death in that he was at the Beverly Hilton Hotel, 54 years old, at the Lucille Ball Desi Arnaz roast, and he stood up and just slayed the audience, sat down and died on the dais of a heart attack.
True story.
Why would I make that
I
up?
don't
What
know.
kind of a true story?
Because you're
Where
funny.
the hell would I make that up? No, that was a piece of comedy.
I was just
True story.
I was
poured
emphasizing.
Out my guts
I was-
and you said, "You kidding? That's funny."
I'm sorry. I was just trying to
Yeah, it is a true
emphasize
story, and I thought I was getting over it until this interview.
the point. People will also be surprised because your name is Einstein. They'd be surprised to find out that your brother is Albert Brooks.
Yes, Albert Einstein.
But which is why he changed the last name because
Probably one of the reasons.
his name was really Albert Einstein.
Yes,
They-
it's like Sandra. Same exact thing. I would change my name to Bill.
Sandra.
Well, I think there's actually a funny story.
I don't want to hear it. You're taking too long.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Best review I ever got was from an Italian reviewer who reviewed my album thinking I was a lesbian woman, and it was a brave testament to a young lesbian woman named Sandra.
I gotta go.
I'm sorry, I lost you. I'm sorry.
No. That's
I get
actually
nervous
a good
around you.
No,
He's a big fan of yours.
I'm a big fan of his. Are you kidding?
I'm so relieved to hear that.
Yeah.
Albert Brooks.
Yeah.
And your dad.
Yeah.
This tradition. Was it a fait accompli? Did you know that comedy was your destiny?
No, I will tell you something. I used to watch my dad all the time as a kid, and he would laugh at things that were funny. Never laughed at anything that he didn't think was funny, which I love. Sometimes I'm out to dinner, and I see people dying laughing at a table, and I wish I could laugh like that because nothing funny was said, but they're having the time of their life. So I got a certain sense. I'm sure that by osmosis, something, got in there. So I've got it. I mean, I loved him, and I wish he had lived longer, of course, but he didn't.
behind the scenes.
Yeah.
You've worked with it's incredible.
Everybody.
It's incredible.
Everybody.
You really, yeah. For a young guy like yourself.
When I was
Steve,
23 or 24, I was a head writer of the Smothers Brothers
which
with
is
Steve Martin, my partner.
Steve Martin, George Carlin. You've worked with.
Yep.
Sonny and Cher,
Yep.
Red Fox, Dick Van Dyke.
Ray Charles. Ray did all my shows.
Wow.
How great is that?
I wonder
I'm
how.
going to tell you a story that both of you would really have been blown away.
Okay. A true story?
Honest, if you say that again, I'm going to take all this equipment and throw it at those stupid cameras. Okay?
That's the bold TV cameras
Yeah, I
capturing
know.
you so that we can promote
Look
you.
at this guy. Promote me on, what is that, C-Cell? What are you on again? You on an x-ray machine in the hospital or something? Okay, here's the thing. What was I saying? Oh, Ray
you were gonna tell us
Charles.
the
Ray
greatest
Charles
story.
came up, and Ray Charles loved to do comedy with Super Dave, and he also would perform in front of the audience. He didn't like to do What Did I Say but I begged him. He said, "Look, I don't have the Raylettes with me. I don't have my band with me." I said, "The musicians in Canada are brilliant." So we got a group of musicians together. We got a Canadian version of the Raylettes, and I watched Ray Charles for 2 hours coordinate What Did I Say with these people. And he would start and he would say no on the drum. Then he would start voice no. It was like I was watching, it was mind blowing.
It's like you were watching Ray Charles. Sorry, did I undermine your story?
No.
Well, he's
Do you have
he
a
was an
newspaper
impressive
I could do a
man.
puzzle or something for the rest of the minutes so I don't have to listen to these people?
I was agreeing with you, Super Dave.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did for Dick Van Dyke. We won an Emmy for Dick Van Dyke. We won an Emmy for the Smothers Brothers. Red Fox, funniest man in the world.
And did
hardest show to do.
writing for those guys help shape what you would do? This is an interesting transition
I think
that
really,
not a lot of writers
I'll tell you
make.
what I think really helped. Of course, writing helps because when you put words in other people's mouth and they get laughs, it helps your confidence.
Right.
But I did a lot. I did a lot of talk shows and experimented a lot. And so by doing that, I kind of got a feel of what I could do to make people laugh. So that's what I did.
But
I
here's the
loved
thing,
physical comedy, and I loved doing it the way I did it, as far as never putting my tongue in my cheek, never saying, "Am I funny?" And I always go on shows and say these jokes aren't funny, and they are, and then I don't enjoy the laugh.
But the optics of it are almost like you happened your way onto becoming onto the screen, onto the performing side. In other words, you were a behind the scenes guy, you were a producer,
Well, I
you were a
started
writer.
out, though, as a writer-performer on The Smothers. I did a character called Officer Judy, where I would come on and arrest Tom and Dick when they would go too far. And then I did characters along the way, and then I started doing Super Dave.
Super Dave is a character who's played straight, but for laughs
Yes.
in a realistic context. That's a hugely popular kind of character now in comedy, from Sacha Baron Cohen to a show you currently appear on, Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Right.
Do you see a Super Dave style do you think that you helped lay that groundwork?
I hate people who say that they stole that from me, so I'm not going to say that. But yeah, sure, you see things. Yeah. Johnny Knoxville at least gave me total credit for his show, and I said, I don't want any part of it. I said, I did comedy. You have imbeciles killing themselves. I said, there's a fine line there. But he was nice enough to say that. I like him.
It's a remarkably enduring character.
I know I should be arrested for taking it this far.
But I say this with respect, but it's one joke, right?
Totally.
And
But may I say
people love
something?
it.
But may I say something?
Yeah.
To me, the joke was never the hit, even though that isn't what I was looking for. I was looking for the absurdity in the whole thing. Like, one of my favorites is King of the Road. And when the announcer says, "Why are you doing this?" I said, well, I'm going on a 500-mile bus trip, and I'm going to be playing a piano on top of the bus to end profanity on the highway, because if people sing, they can't swear. Now, that is so preposterously stupid. And then a quarter of a mile in, I get punished.
But are you suggesting, so it's not the actual...
I hate to tell you this, but there's a network in the United States right now who I'm dealing with. I may be doing another Super Dave show.
You don't hate to tell me that.
I do,
You
only
love
because
that.
I might be arrested this time for doing it too long.
Well, but it does have this enduring. So is it more just the
You know what
the
I
nature
like?
of
You
the
know what I'd
character?
like?
Is it just the way?
No,
Is it just you?
I'll tell you the best way. Growing up, I was in love with Laurel and Hardy, and what I loved about Laurel and Hardy was the relationship, because no matter what Laurel did to him, which
Yeah.
was a lot, they loved each other.
Yeah.
So I kind of had that with Fuji and Mike and all my people. All my people were so inept, but I never fired anyone. I would yell at them when my head was on my shoes and they were interviewing me. But I looked for that, and that's what I loved. And then you mix in a good physical sight gag to a big white self-assured person for no reason is pretty funny.
But Bob, a lot of what Super Dave is seems to be you. That's just your style.
Of course.
And so do you ever feel like you'd rather just be doing it without the
No, I love this. Super Bob Einstein doesn't have a ring to it.
No, but there's a great. I just on YouTube was watching a couple nights ago this fantastic, very very funny scene of you and John Biner on Bizarre singing "Up Where We Belong."
That was so great.
He's doing
was
Joe
so
Cocker,
great.
and you come out at first. You're sort of just the straight producer guy.
Right, I always came out there.
And then halfway through, you take the female part. You're singing with him.
That was so much fun.
But the gig, your straight man gig, is essentially the same guy you're playing as Super Dave.
well,
it's just without the.
yes and no. I mean, Super Dave isn't quite as. I don't want to get into two different people, but it's not. He's not quite as sharp as hopefully I am. I'll tell you one of the great moments is we found. I stayed at the Royal York when I first went to Canada, and I saw a little person sleeping on the couch, dressed in a Call for Philip Morris outfit. His name was Fergie, and he was sleeping because he was drunk. I didn't know that. So I said to the casting people, hire him. He looked like Ronald Reagan, perfectly formed, and I made him my attorney. And he was as cute a human being. So one episode, John came out at the end and said goodnight, and he had Billy Barty, but he was walking with a monkey. And he took the monkey costume off, and Billy Barty was underneath. And I came out, and I blasted him. And I said, you know what? Oh, no, I'm sorry. Excuse me. Take that back. John decided at the end of the show to show some bloopers where I had screwed up. So I walked out. I said, let me tell you something. I quit. I said, go to Hollywood and get some coke-sniffing producer to do your show. I said, I've made mistakes. I said, but I try as hard. And we're walking down the hall. And I said, you don't know what having a sane producer is. And I opened the door to my dressing room, and it is the sickest sight. I've got a blow-up doll swinging on a swing. It's just a porno palace. And I open my dresser drawer, and Fergie's in there, and he's asleep. So I pick him up, and I put him on he's in giant bunny shoes, and I put a balloon hat on him, and I walk out, and I come out and I'm talking about dignity and treating human beings right, and I come out to my limo, and I have a blind chauffeur. And I open the trunk, and I pick up Fergie, and I throw him in the trunk and slam the trunk. And I said, next time you know how to treat people with dignity, give me a call. Maybe I'll come back. And I get in the car, and the blind driver goes into the wall and backs up into cans, and we don't go anywhere. But a storm hits. So we all go in. We run in. And we're having some drinks and food and things. 2 hours later, I realized Fergie is still in the trunk. So I ran out and opened the door, and he looked at me. He said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm sorry."
It's kind of a sad story.
No, it wasn't. It was
Poor
hysterical.
Fergie.
I still laugh at it.
Sandra Lurke,
Fergie was the greatest.
I want to just.
I got a call from the Royal York once, and I don't like to use this term, okay, but this is what they said.
Right.
They said, your midget is running in the halls naked. I said, first of all, I don't own him. And secondly, he's probably drunk. So get his underpants and try to empty the bottle.
I was going to. We have 2 minutes left before we have to take a little break.
That's it? And then I have to
No.
leave?
You don't have to go anywhere. I'm not.
I'm just getting used to Sandra over there. I'm
I
starting
was
to
gonna
like
say,
her.
Sandra.
She is a very attractive lesbian. I am telling you that much right now.
Sandra-
Katie Lang would be jealous.
Sandra Lurke from the small town of Bergen, Norway. He's a big fan.
Well, I didn't think he came from a big town with the name Sandra. He didn't come from L.A.
He's a big fan. He got a minute here. He's a big fan of Arrested Development. Did you want
Can
to
I
ask?
get a Polaroid picture with you?
Do I have what?
Can I get a Polaroid picture with you?
You can get anything you want with me.
Oh, thank you.
Didn't you love Arrested Development?
I love it. That's why. That's how I discovered you.
Oh, really? That's
And now
so
I'm gonna
great.
go way back and see your other stuff. But
Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Best show ever. Well,
The most
Arrested
fun I ever
Development
had.
is
Can I
best
tell you the
show
most
ever.
fun I ever had?
Yeah, you got 30 seconds.
I'm not going to.
Come
no,
on.
No, but and y'all understand this. I
Yeah.
mean, I did thousands of Letterman, every show.
Yeah.
Doing Johnny Carson, The Tonight Show, as many times I did it, that was the most fun to me.
Will you stick around for a couple minutes?
Of course
I don't know
not.
how. Can he stick around? Where are your handlers? Where are your people?
I have no idea where my people
All right.
are.
If you, we're not gonna let you leave. Yeah.
Can I stick around?
We're gonna let you. You got some other stuff. We'll see. I'm
We'll
just
still
gonna ask
stick
you about
around.
Johnny
I'm
Carson,
having a good time.
and I want
I don't care
Elvira
about
Kurt
the
to
other
be
stuff.
Super
I've
Dave
done
Osborne.
so much stuff now. I'm stuffed out.
His alter ego Bob Einstein here in Studio Q. The DVD
I'm not going. I'll
Super
stay
Dave
where
Super
I want to
Stunt
stay. No
Spectacular
one's telling
Volume
me
1.
anymore.
Back with Sandra Lurke and Elvira Kurt.
Sandra Lurke.
I'm Gian Gameshi. Q at cbc.ca. Hi there. Happy Friday, Canada and North America on Sirius 137. This is Q. I'm Gian Gameshi. What? I was just going to say Super Dave is here.
And
Elvira Kurt is now here.
I'm
I
here.
know.
I was just going to say, in the studio, we have Sandra Lurke, who's our Friday Live guest playing throughout the show. We've got Elvira Kurt, who's come in, our regular. She does the Cultural Hall of Shame. Super Dave, a minute ago you said you could stay, but apparently you can't. So
that's what I was just told.
yeah,
I would
you're
like
busy,
to stay.
Busy guy.
I would like to be your new regular co-host.
Man, I wanted to hear stories about Carson. You know,
It was the greatest.
At least one. There's got to be one great story.
No, just the whole thing was great because the music, the Tonight Show music, and Johnny, and when Johnny would laugh, and Ed McMahon, and
here's the thing. You're a
What?
guy. You've written, produced
Yeah.
comedy. You're
Yeah.
a performer. What made Carson? Since you've done Letterman, you've done
Intelligence.
Jimmy Kimmel, and all those.
intelligence, and he always stayed above the taste line, which was great because when you would go off it, he could feign shock, and he was so easy at late night to watch. To me, he was like Streisand in that at a concert, she's going to be perfect. You knew Carson was going to be perfect. I mean, I don't know if you remember that old hatchet throwing thing with Ed Ames. It's
Yeah.
a famous piece.
Definitely.
Well, Ames moved after he threw it to go get the hatchet,
Right.
and Carson stopped him immediately. He just knew. And I would always give him a big joke when I would come on.
What does that mean? You'd give him a
I
big
would
joke.
give him
You'd
a
let
big
him
laugh.
do one.
Oh, yeah.
Of the new.
I used to call him Jimmy all the time, and he would correct me, and I would look at him like I didn't know what he was talking about. I would wait till he was through. And I said once, I did a book on memory. And I said, Jimmy, you, and he would always say Johnny. I said, you meet a lot of people, and it's hard to remember. He says, I can't remember. I said, well, I'm going to show you the easiest way. Say I'm at a party and someone comes up and says, this is the great Jimmy Carson. And I said, and so what I'm going to remember is J, just about the very best. I, individually brilliant. M, you were married. M, you were married again. Why? And he says, good question. Audience out.
A big laugh. Who
Yeah.
do you love of the new crop? Do you think Conan O'Brien is the heir?
I have a lot of fun with Jimmy Kimmel.
Yeah.
You mean Johnny? Johnny Kimmel?
Johnny Kimmel, I love. And
You should start calling him Johnny. That'd be
and,
the fun. reverse.
Yeah, you can have that one.
I did Letterman a lot. I love doing Letterman, but it's just a pain sometimes to go back to New York.
Oh, right. You do Jimmy Kimmel. You're in L.A.
Yeah, of
Yeah,
course. You
it's
go
one
right
of the
over there
reasons
and
I
do
stay
it.
in
I like
Toronto.
Jay, too. Jay's a good guy.
You know where you should go?
Where?
Oakville.
And live there?
Definitely not live there.
We were
but
told that
apparently
you have to go to Oakville.
I was helping
Yeah.
your segue of moving to the next thing you're supposed to
Oh,
do.
you want me to get the hell out of here, don't you?
No, I don't.
I can
want you,
tell.
I want to sit in
that's
your
where-
lap. I
you
was
know
going to
what,
Her
ask.
segment.
Sandra?
You see, you're
I was gonna
stepping on
ask you
her.
if I could
Sandra
sit in your
doesn't
lap.
want me to go. She wants me to stay, but
want you to
this one
stay.
wants me out
Oh,
of here.
thanks, Sandra. He was making fun of your name. I love your music. Whatever. Go
So do
ahead.
I. You don't think I love his music?
He
No,
was on
no.
Arrested Development. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
exactly.
Absolutely. Well,
I'm sorry.
And Curb, even
I
better.
know, I know.
How great is Curb?
It's so
Isn't it the
fantastic.
greatest?
You really give him such a hard time. It makes me so uncomfortable. Do you know there are
But
people
you
who
know
can't
what's
watch
funny?
the show?
But you know what's funny?
Tell me what's funny. Gian, take a few minutes. Go get a cup.
This is turning
tell
into-
me
What's
what's
funny
funny.
is why am I his friend?
Why?
Look
Exactly.
what he's done to my father dying, my mother dying. My daughter was a lesbian who turned back in, and they turned her back into a lesbian. It's just like, wait till you see what happens in the first
I can't wait.
episode of this year to my family.
All right.
Hey man, you've got to come back. Will you
I'll be
come
back in 5 minutes. Right
Sure.
after this
Yeah.
other
What did you go?
interview.
Yeah.
Just anytime.
You know what I would like to do? I would like to come back with that author, and let him have one mic and me have the other, and see who talks faster.
You mean Ken White, one of our great publishers in the country.
Bring him back.
His job isn't
I've
to
got
talk
a great
fast.
joke to leave you
Ken's
with.
crying in the lobby. Bring him
He's
back.
got a great
His job
joke
isn't to
leave
talk
you
fast.
with.
Why would you
wanna
judge him
hear
on
it or
how
not?
fast he talks?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah,
Shush.
yeah,
Shush.
yeah.
But I've been using
I'm
it
shushing
around
Gian.
town, but I'll still give it
Go
to you
ahead.
because
Sure.
it's so good. Little boy's walking down the hallway of his house, 10 years old, and he hears a commotion in his parents' bedroom. So he opens the door, and there's his father dressed only in chaps, and his mother's dressed in a cheerleading outfit with no underwear, and they're going at it. He said, "Daddy, what's going on?" He says, "Oh, don't worry, sweetheart. Go to bed, Daddy. He'll tuck you in a while." 20 minutes later, his father's walking down the hall. He hears screaming in his kid's bedroom. He opens up the door. His kid is having sex with his grandmother. He said, "Billy, what are you doing?" He said, "It's not so funny when it's your mother, is it?"
Okay. Could
That's
you?
a great joke. What do you mean, okay?
That is a great
You
joke.
What am I, an author?
I'm just wondering if Carson
No,
would have.
that is a great joke.
That is a great joke.
Isn't that a great joke?
He's a girl. What do you expect?
Yeah.
I'll give you one more.
Oh,
He's trying to be Carson.
I know, he really did.
well, no, I thought
Why'd
it
you
was.
say okay after
Yeah,
that?
why? Yeah.
What the hell makes you laugh if that joke doesn't make you laugh? I'm so tired of you filming this thing. I can't stand it. Why didn't you get a real camera, first of all? Look, this guy filmed him embarrassed. We have 2 cameras here. It's radio, I know. But they got 2 guys who are in the dark.
Got a few cameras,
Yeah,
but then
there's
some
one-
of them
there's one
don't have
just on
humans.
Sandra.
Yeah.
Okay, fine.
Okay, one
There's
more.
a camera on Sandra?
Yeah,
my
sure, why not?
close-up.
Look, he's got a spotlight.
What is the point of having a camera on Sandra?
I've got a.
I got one more quick
go
joke,
ahead,
and then
go
I'm
ahead.
leaving.
Yes, sure.
Guy's having trouble with his wife. You're gonna love this. I'm gonna
I
do it
love
to
it
you.
already.
I'm
Does
gonna
it
do it to
involve
you because
a child
he's
and
gonna
his
go
grandmother?
He
okay.
doesn't know.
What are you, a teacher?
Anyway, you know what?
What do you do? What is your problem?
I'm just
A
concerned about
child
the.
and his grandmother. You know, we're on the radio
You know
here and
why?
people listen.
It's because he's wearing chaps right now. And I
Yeah,
think he's a
what
little
is the
touchy.
problem?
I became
That's his-
uncomfortable.
Don't you have any dignity, sir?
He doesn't. He
You're on a
lost it.
radio show.
He lost it in the last
We're here
time
to bore
slot.
the heck out of the public, not to make them laugh.
So
Okay, here's the
is
thing.
laughing.
Here's the thing. Guy's having trouble with his wife, so he goes to a bar.
Okay.
His best
Right.
friend. I've been telling this all over town too, and everyone but
Why are you
laugh.
telling us? Why don't you tell us?
Because you're the
new
last show
jokes?
I've done.
Let the man finish. Now you know what
Thank
I
you
feel
so
like. I
much.
can't
Now
ever
I know
get a
exactly
yeah,
what you feel like.
Hard. Okay, having trouble. He's in the bar. Having trouble with his
Okay.
wife.
And he says to his friend, he says, I got to have some drinks. So he starts drinking. He drinks so much he throws up in his shirt. He says, now what am I going to do? I'm going to go home. She's going to scream at me. She's probably going to swing at me. His friend said, don't worry about it. Tell her someone else at the bar overdrank, got sick, threw up on you, and put $10 in your pocket to get it clean to prove it. I'm putting $10 right in there. He said, that's brilliant. Look at him. He's looking at me like a principal. I'm going to be taken by the ear to
is.
someone
I
to
think
talk
I've
to.
heard the joke, but I'm excited about the.
Well, I haven't. Please don't
Yeah.
spoil it for Sandro and I. We're
All right,
huge
so he goes
fans.
home. He
Okay?
says, I'm
Comedy.
home. His wife comes down and starts screaming at him. He said, listen, I had one drink. And guy at the bar got sick, threw up in my shirt, and to prove it, he put $10 in my pocket in there to get it clean. She reaches in, she takes the money out. She says, there's $20 here. He said, I know. He also crapped in my pants.
That's
you know what,
funny.
Sir? You know what, sir? You ought to go to the principal because we don't do jokes on this show. We do interviews. We take a lot of time in talking. We have spaces between our words, and we don't like laughter.
Bob Einstein.
Hey,
Super Dave
you know
Osborne.
what? I'd like to come back.
It really is.
Why? We're already in the daytime slot here with all the time.
I love her. I wish I could stay and talk
Thank
to
you.
her.
Exactly.
Seriously, thank you very much
Yeah,
for
you
coming.
got as much
rock.
chance
Love
to
to
see
have
me
you back.
again as. No, I'll be back. I may become your sidekick. I'd like to replace Sandra.
Yeah, I can't stay.
Sandra has to go. He's
Oh,
on
he's
tour.
busy too.
Is Sandra on every day?
No, we have our special
Well, who
guest
comes
here.
in tomorrow? A big guy named Barbara?
Burton Cummings is on Monday.
Oh, I'm excited. No, I am. Don't think I'm
You're
not.
sure you're a
I
fan.
can't wait to see the new
These
faces.
eyes.
Tell me about more groups that are retiring.
Bob Einstein.
Thanks a million.
Super Dave Osborne. His
Hey,
new
don't you want
DVD
to
was out.
promote the DVD? That's why
I
I'm
mentioned
here.
it
Oh, he's
100
the
times.
worst.
No, you haven't said it once.
I have a long list of
100
problems
times.
with Gian.
What is it called? Anyway, it's got a long name. Super Dave's Super Stunt Spectacular Volume 1, which, by the way, implies that there'll be more volumes
Yeah,
coming.
that's the guy putting it out, Jonathan Gross. You can trust him.
Thanks for being here,
Believe
man.
me. No, I love him, but I don't know. Okay, thanks a million.
Bye-bye.
I'm leaving.
This is Shad and DJ Tilo, and you're listening to Q with Gian Gameshi on CBC Radio 1 and Sirius Satellite 137.
Stop with that camera. Enough is enough. You don't follow me out of this goddamn place.
Thanks, Super Dave.
My pleasure.